Guys, welcome to another career conversation with viSHEbility. If you've never ever been to one of these, we love having these. So my name is Mary Moshbade. I am the founder of viSHEbility, and we are a social first organization that is, we have this sort of beautiful mission of improving the outcomes of Black women in the marketplace through inspiration, coaching, and community. Our career conversations are kind of part of our inspiration platform, where we speak to Black women across a number of spheres. And what we just really want to do is explore their careers or showcase their businesses. But most importantly, we really just want to celebrate the achievements that they are. We all know how it is to be a Black woman in the marketplace. It's not easy. And we just want to just celebrate their achievements for thriving in these spaces. And so today we have a great guest. So Hannatu Holloway is a professional with 16 years of experience in the human resources space. So she's going to tell us all about like what she does the day-to-day, how she started her career, and so on and so forth. And it's a really multifaceted career, and she's been able to do human resources in a number of spaces, a number of spheres, and at different levels within an organization. Aside from the work that she does, she has hobbies including horse riding, singing, traveling. She's also married with 2 beautiful sons, and she's the lead of a great sort of community of women called True Women, and we're going to hear more about that as well. So welcome Hannatu. Thank you for coming, taking the time. I know you're extremely busy. Oh, and trivia, guys, Hannatu was my senior in school.
Oh God,
look at that. As in she's a couple of years ahead of me. This is secondary school, right? A couple of years ahead of me. We went to an all-girls school in Nigeria called Vivian Fowler Memorial College. So lots of our friends and stuff who might be on this chat room. But imagine when my team was pulling together the list and I saw her picture and I was like, I know her. Like, I know this person. I know her. I don't know where I know her from, but I know her. And then eventually I was like, senior Hannatu.
Oh no, hell no.
That's kind of where we were. I was like, this is like really crazy, but I love it. So I think we're going to be sending at least a clip of this conversation to our school, I guess, just to say hi.
Oh my God.
So really exciting. So great. No, so Hannatu, as we always do, super excited to have you here. We always want to start from the top and give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to people and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me on this platform. I think it's really great, first of all, that we know each other from way back when and we found out yesterday. But also, I think it's really great, this platform that you've created. It's really amazing. I see the chats, the information that come out of it, and it's really inspiring work. So thank you for having me. I'm truly honored and blessed to be here. And thank you, ladies, for all joining. I see a couple of true women here. Welcome. And please, if you can, put on your videos so that we can actually connect and I can see your beautiful faces. Do not worry if you don't have makeup on. I did this for you. So usually, actually, nothing on my face. So don't even worry. Anyway, so who am I? I'm Hannatu Holloway. I'm a wife, a mummy of 2 little boys that jump and climb on everything. I'm a Christian, a shoe lover, and coveter. I love everything shoes. I'm the founder of True Women, that's a charity, and a HR lead for Accenture. And that's a little bit about me.
About you. Okay. And so what is one thing that you would say like you absolutely just love about yourself?
Um, I think I would say I love and hate it at times. I I am an empath. So I believe I don't just read a room, I feel the room. And it's really helped me connect with people, so many wonderful people. It's helped me bring the right solutions to work, create long-lasting relationships that I cherish. But I really do feel what the people around me are feeling. It's very easy for me to put myself in their shoes, but actually when I'm around them, I feel their energy, and that is something I absolutely love about myself. But sometimes it can be a little bit too much.
I know what you
Yeah.
mean.
Just
When
like,
you use that word, I'm like, oh my God, I say that all the time. Like, I'm an empath, which means like I actually need to self-protect a lot of times because it's like, yeah, you can feel everybody's pain or joy or whatever it is. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so I really need to self-protect. But no, nice. And then if there was, is there a moment sort of in your mind when you think about like you growing up? Is there a moment in your mind that you feel like was quite defining in terms of the woman that you are now? And what
Yeah.
comes to mind? And can you share that with us?
I mean, the first thing that's top of mind, I suppose, is watching my mom. I think it inspires me every day because we did have some challenges when I was growing up, and these were like financial challenges, and it was a really difficult time. But every time I never found a person that was more, she wouldn't relent. She would always strive to, put food on the table, do better, create other opportunities, ask for help. Like she was so bold, and every time I think of myself and the kind of woman I want to be, the kind of wife, the kind of mother, I want to be that woman that continuously tries, doesn't give up, will say, you know what, it didn't work out today, so we'll do better. And I remember there was a point where we were like, between my mom and myself, and she was like, honey, we don't have a lot of money right now, but this is what we have. But I'm suggesting we go to Big Mac and have a nice meal. I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
actually.
let's do that. Oh, wow,
Yeah.
that's so beautiful. A woman that always tries. And I know, like, yeah, like, because especially as women, we sometimes are just so hard on ourselves, and we don't recognize like the trying part. Like, you're actually doing the best that you can. So I'm really happy that you shared that. That gives me a lot of perspective actually on a few other things. But no, great. I like that. That's nice. I didn't even give you a heads up on that one, so I like that. Really, really nice. Okay, so I wanted to switch a little bit to the work that you do, as you know, so you're HR lead, you're Accenture, an amazing consulting professional services company. And a lot of the times we have women who join this community, these conversations, they want to know more about like the career, what you do, what actually do you do day to day. So can you like share some like what what is this human resources thing? For me, I just never want to get a call from HR because it's never like a good thing. But like, what is actually like, what does a career in HR mean, in that sense, like quite practically? And then what are some of the highlights that you've had sort of on your pathway to where you are now? Because you've been in HR for a good number of years, like 16 years ish, I think.
Well, not all HR, but very people focused. I think my career and having a career in HR means that you're invested in people, you're invested in developing, understanding, and kind of promoting people. You have to be that people person. And I know HR get such a bad rap, but actually, they are a partner to the business. They are looking out for the employee needs. There's so many facets to human resources that sometimes is bucketed only in employee relations. So, the bad side of things when someone does something wrong. But in terms of your benefits, in terms of your payroll, recruitment, learning and development, there's so many strategy actually, talent strategy also sits within HR. So there's so many facets, and I've been lucky to experience pretty much all of them. But the role that I currently sit in, it sits more within the HR strategy because I'm within mergers and acquisitions. So looking at buying, selling companies, due diligence, and then integrating those companies into Accenture. So I will experience and manage the full cycle of HR for
Oh,
those companies.
exciting. Okay. And so what has your journey been like, into this career? Like what did you study? Where did you start? And that type of thing. Just give us
Sure.
some highlights, please.
So I started off actually wanting to be president of Nigeria one day. I went to, um, crazy enough, I went to University of Liverpool. I studied politics and international business. I was very politically minded. But as whilst I was studying, I realized obviously I needed to support myself as well. And I started working part-time in a bank, Barclays at the time. It was a call center. It was from 4 to 11 p.m. at night. And initially, it was just, answering phones, and that was pretty much it. But as you continually want to learn and strive for more, there were things that were going on with the Woolwich merger. If anyone can cast their mind back to the Woolwich mortgages that existed, that building society that provided mortgages, Barclays actually acquired them. And through that, I got the opportunity to put my hands up to say, look, I'd like to know more. I'd like to learn more. I was shipped to London. I learned a lot about mergers, acquisitions, and that gave me my first actual. Thank you, Fola, for remembering those days.
Barclays days and nights.
Horror. And I got the opportunity to really try my hands out on different things. So I worked at complex queries and complaints, which was very people focused, customer focused, but again, more about the people. I worked in the mergers and acquisition side of things, and then integrating the new staff members of Woolwich into Barclays, letting them know that we're losing their jobs. So it was very people focused, and that helped me see a different side of things. I then applied for the graduate program. Well, I applied for several. I got several interviews. I remember because I was in Liverpool, going all the way to London,
London.
paying your way to go to these interviews, and actually not having any guidance on how to present myself. One of my interview questions was, so in 5 years, where do you see yourself after you work in Barclays? Where do you see yourself? And I said, actually, I want to be president of Nigeria. Like, what the
Oh,
hell?
wow.
Who
Okay.
says that in an interview? I had absolutely no coaching, but I think they still saw, a certain thing about me that was interesting enough for them to pick up. I moved to London in 2008 and started to work like through a rotation program. I did a Rising Star program with Barclays. I was a premier manager. So
Right.
whilst it was very customer centric, there was a people side of things, learning from each other, supporting people. So there was a people aspect that I really enjoyed. And then my side hustle was kind of looking at the benefits structure with one
Right.
of the directors and stuff like that. So it was really interesting. And I got an opportunity. Well, I think I knew within myself I should have been moving on. So I was more or less pushed, and I moved into recruitment, believe it or not. So you go from banking, people side of things, to recruitment. Now, this wasn't a step I took lightly because I knew I was going into a difficult field. It showed me a different side of, people matters. And I worked for Michael Page. Now, whilst I started working within recruitment, it then became more about changing the best practice, looking at consulting strategy and change as a practice, and how to create a best practice following, how to build that practice more or less within the financial sector. So I did that for a while, and then an opportunity came again to work as a HR manager for Axis Consulting, which was a boutique consultancy that focused on process reengineering, lean, Six Sigma, and all of that for a couple of banks, so
Yeah.
Deutsche, Santander, and stuff like that. And I had the best mentor. Like this was one point where I found someone that believed in me so much so that he was willing to push me to do more, to do different things. Now, as HR manager, when it's a boutique small consultancy, I saw the pricing side, the sales side to their clients. I engaged with their clients. It just gave me so much exposure, and he had so much trust in me and really pushed me out there, which was brilliant.
Yeah. I guess that's one of the benefits of like working for a smaller organization and not like this big, the big beast that
Yeah.
some of us work for, because then you get lost in the numbers.
Absolutely. And it's so much more authority, right? Because you're actually making these sponsorship decisions. Like it's actually really amazing. But I think the one thing I take out of that was the sponsor I got, the mentor I got from Michael. And that was huge for me. When I started thinking, it actually was actually pushing me, like, what are you doing next? Started thinking about what next. Um, a role came up with Deloitte, a role came up with Accenture. And I was really, really, really worried. The Deloitte was the one I really wanted because it was actual HR consulting. So I interviewed for it, and of course, I didn't get it. It was a lower salary than the Accentures, but I was so gutted. With Accenture, it was a phone call. I didn't actually have an in-person, interview. We talked on the phone. It was more of a conversation. Michael had coached me.
Mhm.
And I got a call like a week later offering me this position over the phone, having never met me. Meanwhile, I spent like a whole day with Deloitte interviewing like a crazy
Yeah,
person.
yeah, yeah.
And I was slightly freaked out because I kept thinking, like, this salary is insane. And I didn't get a lot of confidence from some people I spoke to. It was more like, why would you be given this opportunity and not me? Or are you sure you can perform the role? And my now husband, and back then, was obviously, trying to get in the door. And I mentioned it to him and I said, look, I'm truly worried. And he said, no, you go in there and you will figure it out. You will pick up whatever you don't know, but you
Do it.
can take the role. So I did. And that's how I got to Accenture.
Right. So, ladies, get you a man who can push you, encourage you. Not one who would discourage you from the opportunities that have your name
Right.
on it.
Right.
That's the trick. Okay, nice. So how many years ago was that? So you've been in Accenture for how long?
Since 2015 now, so 5-ish, yeah.
Okay, so a good amount of time.
Mhm.
Decent. Okay, really, really cool. So we know a little bit. So, and then, ladies, if you have questions about anything that Hannatu is talking about, like, please just drop it in the chat, and then we can pick it up as we go along. Okay, great. So, like, very, very journey. I like that it was just quite different from one thing to another, moving across sectors, and I like the fact that you talked about mentorship, and something that we're actually talking about today in our sort of one of my coaching groups was around this mentorship versus having a champion. And I think what you had was not just someone who was just going to mentor you and give you advice, but someone who was actually willing to sponsor you for opportunities and, coach you through the process, and not just like, which I think is a lot more, having more responsibility. So I've always thought, like, in a career space, like, one of the things that in particular women need a lot, because I think men probably find it more organically,
Mhm.
is to really find, like, champions who are just going to take it beyond just advising us on like what to do next, but really take ownership for and carry that responsibility with us, like, for the next bit. But anyway, that's an aside. So as you've like progressed sort of in your career, are there any expectations that you had about like what you thought your path might be that you think like turned out quite differently?
Um, yes and no. So I always wanted to do different things. I always was passionate about people, engagement, and I think I've landed right where I needed to be, including looking at profitability of a business. So having that visual is absolutely amazing. I guess the downside is dealing with people is difficult. People are unpredictable. And sometimes you have to take a step back to realize that, okay, it's not me that they're coming at, it's more about the company's policies. But that's what I think, getting more senior, you feel like you have the opportunity to make certain decisions, but the way they impact people is what I guess you don't factor in.
I seem to have muted myself by mistake. Cool. um as we go. Okay, great. No, that's a good one. And then if you were thinking about all of the moves that you've made, is there anyone that you would say like, okay, this was the best decision, or maybe this was the worst decision? So are there any that you just thought, oh, I shouldn't have done that?
I think my best decision was moving to Access. I think it just opened up a different world for me.
Yeah.
And it showed me that actually I believe in myself, but there are people that believe in you too, and can really champion and change your life just because,
Mm,
you don't have to do anything for them, but they just see something in you. So that was really one of the best decisions I made. And then worst, I think, was to stagnate. I got really comfortable in Barclays. I remember
okay.
there were a couple of people that kept telling me, you need to move, but I was so comfortable.
Yeah.
Like I knew everything, and I was studying my master for my master's at one point. I just stagnated, I think.
Yeah. Okay. And have you made like a conscious effort to keep in touch with that, like your sponsor, like your sponsor?
Absolutely.
And how have you
Absolutely.
done that? Because like that could also be something when
Um,
like there's no proximity.
we text often. I mean, he's met my husband. I know his family, but we text mostly. We follow each other on social media, so we'll chat about different things. He loves football, so if his team's playing, like when Chelsea wins, I'll make sure I tell him well done, like it was him. But yeah, I keep in touch as regularly. Things going on in my career as well. I will let him know if I need advice as well. He started a new venture capital
Nice.
company, so he will tell me about what he's doing as well.
Nice. Good. I think those are really, really good tips. actually really just caring about people beyond the day job. It's a great way to like stay in touch with anything. And then I guess just wrapping up around like the career piece, what sort of core skills would you say people who are looking to have a career in, similar to yours, or at least, within the HR space, like what you're doing right now, what
Mm.
skills do you think are like should be top of mind in terms of, building your portfolio toward that?
Yeah, I think if you're interested in kind of this kind of career path, you have to be interested and invested in people. You have to start charting your path now, because sometimes it's not particularly an easy area to go into if you didn't study or have worked in some capacity within the people side of things. It's important to build your communication skills. So the reality is you need to be not necessarily a people person, but you need to be able to communicate effectively,
Mhm.
and you really have to have a tough hide, because
Mhm.
like you said, not everyone wants a call from HR for whatever reason. So you need to realize that it's not you, it's
Yeah,
the job.
yeah, fair enough. Okay, great. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the work that you do outside of the day to day. So you've talked, or at least hinted a little bit about True Women, and I'm so excited to see so many of your community people here cheering you on. So can you just share a little bit about your heart behind True Women? Why it started, and why it continues to exist, and what you're hoping to glean from it as you go along.
Sure. So this was something that was laid on in my heart when I was pregnant with my first son. However, I dismissed it at the time, kind of saying, "Oh, who do I know? Like, who's coming to any of these kind of things?" And I went through postpartum after I had my first son.
Mm,
And when I was about to have my second son, again, it was laid in my heart, and I just heeded the call. I remember talking to the women at my baby shower about the vision and the name and what the support group would be. And the vision, essentially, it's a support group, so a sisterhood that enables women to support one another, grow one another, learn, coach, and kind of support our community at large through various things. We meet once a month. We have, which is the last Saturday of the month, we have a business presenter that comes to talk to us about various things from skincare to finances to sexual pleasure, you name it. We have someone kind of speaking to us about these things. And then we engage. We talk about things going on in our lives, how we support each other. And it's just such a lovely sisterhood to be a part of.
mm, nice. And how have you seen like women within the community like really support each other practically? Because I think like there are a lot of female groups, and sometimes like it's hard to know which ones to be part of, why one is better than the other, or should I just join all of them and be completely overwhelmed? But how, like, how have you really seen like people practically support each other within your community?
I would say, for example, we've had a recent incident for someone you actually know, Sarah Jonama. Her restaurant in Nigeria had a fire. And it's just been wonderful seeing the support that Sarah has received, people donating, calling her, supporting her. For me, that is exactly what I wanted. This
Mhm.
place where that whatever happens, because things happen in life, you have this support group. Even if they can't give you all the money you need, they will call you, they'll check in,
Mhm.
they'll send someone around with food,
Yeah.
whatever you need. It's is actually the whole point. And I have loved seeing the support that Sarah has gotten.
Yeah. No, that was super, super exciting for me because as I mentioned to you, like I received the link through sort of our school network. And I thought, oh, wow, like this is great. And, we all kind of rallied and, put something together. But just even speaking to you about some of the practical things, like people who maybe, some of your members who are like in the construction industry were like helping her to like
Yeah.
go to the site and look at the damage and cost and figure out like what can they do. Someone who was selling paints was contributing like paint pots. Like I love that. Like that's
Mhm.
super, super like super real, and just really, really tangible. But then I guess the final question on this, like for me that I had is like, how do you see like perhaps maybe women failing in this big mandate to support other women? Like, where have you seen that?
Yeah.
And then I guess, how can we change the narrative? And I asked that specifically because I feel like, I mean, I've had the both sides of the coin, where like, actually, like in the workplace, or in, the people that I feel like I haven't maybe got on with, or I feel like
Mm.
haven't really supported me, have unfortunately been women. Or say like in school, me feeling like I was bullied out, but it was a girls' school, and I ended up, and having a lot more guy friends. But then now I feel really, really supported by women, and I also run a women's community. So it's switched. But I wanted to get your take on, where you see like, some women maybe perhaps failing in that, and how can we do better?
Yeah, it's one that sometimes it shocks me when I experience it, if I'm honest. I think women, we need to come together in realizing that whatever you're feeling, I've probably felt it before,
Mm,
right? And supporting each other is pivotal to us moving forward. So it's competing for a space, feeling that there is only one. Why
mm,
can't there be multiple? It's
mm,
going into a conversation about compensation and promotion, and a female, a woman that has children, actively saying, well, that lady's on maternity. Why do we need to promote her? I'm like, what are
wow.
you doing?
Yeah. Wow.
It's that insane competition, as opposed to thinking, if I'm feeling this way, she's feeling it or she's felt it too.
Yeah.
So there are so many boys clubs, right? Why don't we have these old girls clubs like
Yeah.
as well? So yeah, I think I've seen it, I felt it, and it's turning around because I now have my first female mentor. I've never had one.
Wow.
Yeah, but I had to go looking. I didn't even find her in my company. I found her in EY.
Mm, mm,
So yeah.
gosh. That made me cringe actually when you said that. Like, physically cringe. And I'm sure there's so many, many, many stories about, where unfortunately, it's woman on woman crime, unfortunately. And, there's so many, many stories. But I also, like, I'm always very encouraged to, meet women like you, and, see the work that you're doing, and hear the stories that you share, of just really how, like, women are practically helping each other, to move ahead. Just, it's just always great and really, really heartwarming. So thank you for everything that you do. It's so important, and really, really valuable to those that are benefiting from it. So now I want to kind of spend some time on, like, your reflections on your journey so far. And when we chatted earlier, you were talking, I kind of asked you this question. We were talking about some of your kind of top lessons that you've learned and stuff. And a lot of them resonated with me, but I wanted you to kind of share with our community. So sort of around, um, remaining a constant learner in terms of, like, having a growth mindset. So that's
Mm.
one thing that you mentioned. And the second thing was around, like, actively seeking out new opportunities. I think you've touched on a little bit of that, but I want to get into more of that. And the final thing was really, like, asking for what you want. So can you
Mm.
elaborate on
Sure.
those points, for us, please? And I guess, how did you come to these lessons, and how are they serving you now?
Sure. I think sometimes we're really fortunate, right? We get things actually actively handed to us. Like you don't really need to do much, it just falls in your lap. But what I realized was if you wanted to keep achieving, keep, growing, stretching, you needed to seek out different and new opportunities, either within the context of your current role or
Mhm.
seeking other opportunities, giving yourself that timeline to say, okay, I'm well versed here, I want to move here. And having that, because I remember reading something a long time ago around a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And I thought, I definitely don't want to be a fixed mindset. I want to be one of those individuals that believes that my talents can grow, change, evolve, and stretch. And that's what I've actively set myself to do. So, be it I'm learning a new course, or I'm going on the new storytelling fundamentals or design thinking, I'm doing something to kind of stretch myself.
Mhm.
And I think it's really important if you see yourself progressing in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a rigid career context. It could be starting a new business. It could be, seeking out a new challenge, going on a marathon. Just important that to enjoy the full spectrum of this life, you have that mindset to continually learn and grow.
Mhm.
And then asking for what you want. I cannot tell you the number of times I extend an opportunity to a man and I say, okay, this is the salary we're paying for, and he's paying for this role, and he says, oh, that's interesting. Well, I would like X and X
Mm. Mm.
every time. So
Negotiating.
I offer a woman a role. I tell her this is the salary, and she says, thank you very much. Okay.
Mm.
And
Mm.
then during the course of the year, we will have salary reviews in December. By February, I'm having a bunch of people say, okay, so when is my salary being reviewed? I'm like, what?
Mm.
By June, same thing. Again and again. And hardly do I find us as women saying, hey,
Mm.
I think I really did great. I would like a review of my salary.
Mm.
And
Mm.
if you do, you'd be surprised that actually they would review your salary.
Wow.
If
Mm.
there is a role that you envisage, I've seen roles created out of nothing. If you
Mhm.
see a gap and a need, ask for it. Say, look, I think I can provide this. I think my skill set lends to this. I would like to support you in doing this. And
Mhm.
you'll be surprised that actually you will get the role or the opportunity.
Yeah. But how can like women like get over that feeling of, I think if we maybe think about it like, yeah, it's almost like you're being arrogant or you're being you know, not humble.
Self
Whatever.
promoting.
Yeah, exactly. But how can like people get over that thought?
I think it's you either reach the point where you realize your worth or you go for coaching because we offer several coaching classes at Accenture that talk about your value, your worth, and understanding how you promote that. Again, it comes at a more senior level. So when you get to a certain level, they start to coach you on becoming an MD and
Mm.
how you self promote. But it's so important that you speak about the things you do because most times at a more junior level, you would create something, impact a project in a certain way that someone will roll up into their work and your
Mm.
impact is actually never known. If you don't talk about it, nobody knows it.
Mm. Mm. And then just going back, like this is the practice, guys. I'm gonna get you the tea here, right? So going back onto this whole salary review situation, like at what point should people actually really be like, okay, like is it something you do every year by default, or is it after? Does it you have to wait for like, okay, a big project has ended, so this is my opportunity? Like, what are the trigger points that we should be thinking about for us to
It
like ask for
depends.
money?
It depends on the role you're in, firstly, but mid-year and end of year are the points where we actually review the salaries. Now, everyone, I believe, should be looking at what the market is paying for the role that they are currently working, because sometimes companies as well can stagnate. So it's important that you're reflecting on what are my peers being paid, not just within your company, but outside of your company.
Mhm.
And if you check, the various mediums that we have, and you find that you're actually being paid less, then you speak to HR
Mhm.
and say, I've done my research and I would like a review to make sure that I'm being paid appropriately. Now, there is also something that we don't really talk about, which is the ethnic pay gap. It's
Mm.
unfortunate, but it's
Let me
there.
adjust my chair.
It's actually real and it's there. For
Mhm.
whatever reason, a lot of ethnic minorities are paid less. I don't know if it's a case of when they offer us the salaries, we're just like, ah, I'm in, thank you.
Mhm.
Or if people negotiate, I have no idea. But there's a huge gap,
Mhm.
which we as Accenture tried to, deal with in December, and we're doing it again now to review all the ethnic minorities, their salaries against their counterparts
Mhm.
and adjust.
But are you talking about like pay gap in the way it is explained, like formally, i.e., it's not the differential between two people in the same role, but more the average um, of people in a specific demographic against the other. And so, which is why white men tend to be paid higher because they are the people usually in more senior seats and stuff, whereas you have women who are in more lower paid jobs and things like that. Like,
Mm,
is that how you think about it, or
no.
do you actually are you thinking about like A, B work in the same job and they're just paid differently?
Yes. So at the same, you're at the same level. you live in the same geography, so you're both in the UK, living in London, working on the same roles, have the same type of skill sets, working on the same projects, and you were paid 15K less for no apparent reason.
But isn't that illegal? Because and I think that's the thing that a lot of companies are saying is we cannot legally pay people differently for the same job. But I also understand that if I'm being hired and I don't negotiate my salary, the company has no incentive to offer me anything different. They're not going to tell me,
Yeah,
oh, you probably should negotiate your salary because we could probably give you a little bit more.
exactly.
No one's going to tell me that. So like, but then doesn't that just negate the point that people keep making, like that it's illegal or it's not possible and all of that, because the news is really not clear on this point.
So every company has salary ranges. Salary range point A to point D or E. And the reason for that is because when you start at point A, maybe you're a new joiner or you've just, you've started your career at this level at this point. And then as you progress year on year, the idea is you can get increases within that salary range. A salary range could be from, say, 20K to 80K, right? For you
Oh,
to go in between. So
yeah.
a new starter, as we look at it, could start at the beginning point, which is where most of our ethnic minorities sit,
Mhm.
or somebody else coming, so a white man would say, okay, you pay 20K for this role, but I want 35. That is potentially point B, and it is fine to pay him that.
Mm,
So it is perfectly legal because you are within the range. What can happen sometimes, however, is when we reflect on inflation, we reflect on the changes in the market, the salary ranges shift or change. An individual can then fall below the range. And we are supposed to pick that up. We have algorithms that pick that up and adjust effectively.
right. Okay, this makes a lot of sense. I don't think anyone's ever explained it to me like the way you've just done. That makes a lot of sense. Guys, I hope you're getting the tea here. So well, nobody works for free, but that is really helpful information, because honestly, the way these things are phrased in reports, on the press, we've been doing like we started doing gender pay gap reporting maybe 3-4 years ago now.
Hmm.
And then we started doing race pay reporting maybe 2 years ago for most firms that are kind of ahead of, and many industries are not even behind the curve. But a lot of the things they try to say is, oh well, yeah, women are occupying less senior roles, and that's why there's this gap, not actually like explaining this whole sort of banding thing, which is super interesting. So yeah, any job, negotiate your salary
Negotiate.
on your way in, check the stats. It's amazing, like you can literally move next door to a new company and your entire life in terms of like your money life will change.
Yeah.
Especially if you've been in a place for like really long, you end up stagnating. Your salary just holds, and so making career moves regularly is also like a
Mm.
good thing. Scary, but it's a good thing, like in terms of like the income that you can bring in. But super key. Okay, cool. So we're gonna start like winding down now. So guys, if you have questions in the chat room, this is the time to drop it, and stuff. So yeah, so please let's do this. Who are, I think you might have mentioned one of them already, but who would you say are like the three people who you feel have been most influential to you and your journey?
Um, First off, I would potentially say my mom. So I think if I look at it in terms of my life, I would say my life, my mom, and my husband, mainly because I watched her drive and her nature, just never taking no for an answer, and I love that. And my husband, just because he just thinks I can do anything somehow, which is just brilliant, even when I don't think I can. In my career, it's Michael McGeoch, who was the MD at Axis and really pushed me, really, pushed me to learn new things, Lean Six Sigma, process improvement. Like I was like, why am I learning this, Michael? He's like, it's gonna come into use. So he really spent time with me even after work, like teaching me things, and I really appreciated that kind of support, mentorship, and sponsorship from him. And then Stuart Packham, who I met in um, Michael Page And he was one of those people that just a pure Londoner. Like he was such a swearing, funny guy, but he believed in my potential to do any and everything. So if I said to him, "This is how I want to restructure the team," he's like, "Go ahead, just you do it." But
Mm,
he gave me that boldness. Like this guy
mm,
actually trusts me to run this practice. Like
yeah,
why would he trust me to do
yeah,
this?
yeah.
And that really builds a lot of confidence for me.
Mm,
And the last person I would say is Paul Zabello, who is my career counselor and someone that just keeps kind of, you know, he makes me realize that if I wanted to move from the role I was in to something completely different, because he keeps putting them on my table, it's always possible,
mm,
even within the Accenture context. And he's always talking about me, always championing me. You know, where you just have that person that will send out emails and say, "I just want to say thanks to Hannah." And you're
yeah,
thinking, why? What did I do?
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So those
exactly.
people.
Oh, we love all those people in our lives. And what is your view of like people going out to get career coaching? Um, and at what stage in your career do you think like you should be doing that?
I think it depends, actually. I mentioned about when I was looking for graduate positions, I had absolutely no understanding of what I was doing and what I was going in to say.
Mm,
And I think that impacted my opportunities.
mm-hmm,
So at that point, I think there's a forum where graduates can learn. I think it's so important to prepare them to enable them to chart their career. So
mm-hmm.
very important. Also, when you get to that mid senior level, what's next? What
Transition.
am
Yeah.
That transition is massive because the step you make could define the next 5, 10 years of your
Yeah.
career. And it's so important to know exactly why you're making those decisions and the impact they're having on your career. So I would say at that point, and finally, when you get to that, I'm an MD. What's next?
Mm,
Because most people will either spend their lives being MDs and then reaching the point of a senior MD, and when they're leaving, because I deal with them, they are so desolate. That's like, what
mhm.
happens now? My life is
Yeah.
over.
Next.
I've
Yeah.
given everything to this company. There's no plan B. There's no, what am I going to do next in my life? So your life doesn't end at 65.
Mm-hmm.
There's more.
There's more.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. There's more. Yeah. And really starting to prepare for what that like that other thing it looks like is
absolutely.
like quite key. Okay, cool. I'm just looking at the chat to see if there are any. Yeah, so you get some thanks. Good explanation, Hannah. To a salary offered is never the highest that can be paid for the role. So no,
Right?
yeah, it's never, ever, ever. So just even having that rebuttal to say like I want more and see what they say is always a great thing. Okay, so then like I guess what advice would you give to someone who's looking to pursue a career similar to yours, or those who might be confused about the path that they should go on, especially in this world where like it just feels like there's even significantly more options
Mm.
than ever. How can people just start thinking about what is best for them as it pertains to a career?
I think it's at that point when you start to shape, either when you're at uni, you need to start speaking to the career counselors that they provide at uni, but also you have to start connecting with mentors, people that you see in the field. You need to try internships, try out different roles, but expose yourself to the world. And by that, I mean, most times people want to go from high school, university to a graduate job.
Mm,
Having jobs in between, having those jobs in shops or whatever, builds your perception of the world, builds what you do with money, how you deal with money, the relationship in work, and how you present yourself.
mm,
So I think when people start that career thought process, they need to figure out, how am I exposing myself to the wider, world? Who are the mentors in my life that can kind of coach and give me the guidance I need? And then along the way, you need to find yourself sponsors. Without
mm,
sponsors, it is so tedious and it is so difficult to progress. And if I speak candidly as a Black woman, if you don't have a sponsor, it's not going to be easy.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so there's lots of information and really great books and stuff on the difference between mentorship and sponsorship. I will share a link to one that I have right here. It's called Forget a Mentor, Find a Sponsor. and it's by a lady called Sylvia Ann Hewitt.
Mm.
So I'll send the name in a wrap up email after this to those who have registered. But that's a great book in terms of, like, I think a lot of people think about mentors and sponsors almost interchangeably, but it's quite different. And the responsibilities and expectations are also quite different there. So I think, like, it's great that you mentioned that. Okay, so I can see a couple of questions in the chat room, so I'm just going to read them out. So one is, so hi Hannatu, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Eat, eat more. The weight is gonna come. Just enjoy your life. Yeah, most likely that. But I think I would tell myself to be a little bit more calmer and kinder to myself.
Mm,
Realizing that you will fail. You will have moments where you doubt yourself. You will make mistakes, huge mistakes, but forgive yourself. It's actually okay. And those mistakes will not be as bad in the coming years. You will move on. So just being kind. I don't think we're very kind to ourselves at that young age. Everything's such a big deal.
yeah,
So yeah.
I love that.
Thanks for the question, Marcy.
Kind to yourself. Right. So the next one is from Anna Naomi. Okay, great. She says, as an ex-Barclays graduate, what do you wish you would have known slash done, and what are the top tips you would give to an early career person, I guess, who may not necessarily be a people person, but wants a career in customer relationship. So kind of similar to what you were doing, like wealth management or financial
Yeah,
planning.
I think with finance, with places like Barclays, you have to be able to network. So it's slightly difficult, but sometimes your work can speak for you. So with wealth management, the premier banking side of things, you have to be able to sell. And that I could do very well. I could sell
Mhm.
anything. So if you sell, if you meet your quota, if you exceed your quota, whether or not you say two words, you will be acknowledged, you would be noticed because it's a business, they want to make money,
Yeah.
so it'll be completely fine. However, networking is important. I cannot stress enough, even if you feel you're not a people person, you fake it till you make it, or you go for coaching courses, or you force yourself into the uncomfortable where I remember like setting up 15-minute coffee meetings with people just to have a chat. Very uncomfortable experience because most times they're like, so why do you want to talk to me? But actually it was just getting myself to the pattern of asking a set of questions to get to know an individual and
Mhm.
getting them to know my face. I interacted with the Barclays community. I think Choma would remember how I did the singing things for them. So every time they had any kind of event, they'll be like, Hannah, will you sing? Yes, I will.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable, but you were right in front for people to see and remember who you were. So if it comes time for promotion, they're like, oh, she was the one that sang that
Singing,
song, right?
the singing HR professional.
You might as well. So it's so important to kind of get yourself out of that comfort zone. If you want to progress, you have to interact with people. It's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Amazing. Chi says West End's Got Talent.
Terrible experience, I tell you, but I still did it. Thanks, Anna, for your question. But I still did it, yes.
Amazing. And I love that, because I think that just really, a lot of times we talk about this whole bring your whole self to work, and we feel like things like singing seems like, okay, why would I just leave that at the door? But it's amazing how actually by bringing a lot more of your whole self to
Mhm.
work, it can really create some really great opportunities for you to connect with other people, and their interests and stuff in that way. So it's never a bad thing to be recognized as the singing, whatever, fill in the blanks. It's never a bad thing. It's just sort of adds to the recognition power that you could potentially have. Okay, great. Obviously, it wouldn't be right if I didn't talk about you as a mom, of course. So what has motherhood meant, I guess, for you personally, but also specifically like for your career, and how you make career decisions? You feel like that has
Mm,
changed since like giving birth to your sons?
absolutely. I mean, Being a mom personally is like such an interesting job because you have so many emotions, so very many. You go from, oh my God, they're so cute to, oh my God, I'm going to throw them out of the car. It's such an interesting experience, but it grows you in such a way where I find it difficult at work to say no. Oh, Hannah, do you think you can? And I'm like, sure. And I'm taking more and I'm taking more. But then I've started to realize after having them that you need to put them first. So, Hannah, can you come into the office twice a week? Actually, no, I'll try once a week. And even at that, if you see me, thank God, I'm going to work from home. I need to pick them up from school. I need to get them ready. And it's just a waste of my time going all the way into wherever my client is. And to my surprise, they were like, sure, okay.
Mm,
But I would never have asked that question. To
mm,
what avail? Like, I wouldn't have. And when it's a certain time, I'm like, I'm going to log off now. I'll join back if I can, but I need to put the kids to bed. So
mm,
creating those boundaries for me came with motherhood because before I would take on everything and more.
mm, mm, mm. I think it goes back to that point about like asking for what you want, like what you need,
Yep.
because now like um situation has changed, as the case may be.
Yeah. And I remember being really scared. So after I had my first son, um, I came back off maternity, and 5 months later, I had to let them know that obviously I'm going off on my next one.
Ah, so you had your kids close together.
Yeah, and I was freaking out because in my head I was like, how do I utter these words? I've just come off maternity. I'm going back on maternity
Mhm.
after I've just been put on a new project.
Yeah,
But I just realized that, and you're scared because how does it impact your career, right? By the time you come back, have people moved on so much so that you've fallen behind
fine,
because
yeah.
you went off for 2 years pretty much, and that was my concern. But actually, then I asked the question, Is this impacting me because I went on maternity? You
Mm,
asked, and you're bold about it. It makes everyone uncomfortable, including yourself, but it's probably the better way to be.
mm. And how can women better prepare themselves to return to the workplace after, having kids? I'm actually, let me go back to the point you made. Do you think it's a good thing? And I have no answer for this, but do you think it's a good thing to have your kids like back to back to back, like for
Hmm?
your career? Do you think it's like a like it's just yeah? Do you think that people should do that, or should it be more managed if your career is something that is in focus? And then I guess the second part of that question would be then what advice do you have for women to better prepare themselves to go back to work after
Yeah.
an absence related to giving birth?
Honestly, I don't even think the two should be, I don't think your career should define how you choose to have your kids. I think it's something that your family, you and your husband, like you decide like what's best for us financially, coping wise, because forget the job. If you have your children close together, like if you'd asked me this when I just had my second, I'd be like, oh God, no.
Mm-hmm,
It is difficult because one is still sleep training and the other one has no concept of day or night,
mm-hmm,
you know, and you're up all the time, you're exhausted, and there's so many expectations on you. So I would have preferred to, space out to
yeah.
give me that, flexibility. But now when I see them play and I see them pass on their clothes, wear the same, I'm like, yeah, this actually worked out okay.
Yeah, it's like economies of scale.
Right? Literally, buy nappies, leave nappies. So it's easier, it gets easier, but work didn't factor into my decision
Right.
at all. Actually, I didn't plan the second one, so
Mm,
nothing did.
yeah.
However, I feel that i- when you're getting ready to go back to work, again, be kind to yourself. Your body has just gone through, yeah, a lot. Your mind is half not functioning. You will have to relearn a lot of things. So being kind and knowing that, look, I'm not going to walk into every meeting knowing everything. I'm going to apologize and say, actually, you know what? I need to go because my baby's crying. So you will pace yourself and you'll be kind to realize that coming back to the workplace can be difficult.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I'm hoping like
But
sort
there's
of
so many
our
schemes now that
carry on. Yeah, yeah. So many schemes.
there's schemes now that empower women to come back to work. There's a quota in our hiring focused on bringing back, women from maternity because there's that untapped workforce.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah.
And I'm hoping like our new, well, if it stays, our new sort of world of work, post COVID, that hopefully should incorporate more flexibility, hybrid teams, and all of that
Mm.
stuff should be helpful to women coming back to work rather than just kind of being on maternity, a few keep in touch days, and then you're back to work 5 days a week with, which can be, it's just a lot emotionally
Mm.
as well. So I'm hoping, like, that creates a change, although the debate is out, because with a lot of organizations now have started announcing return to work dates and so on and so forth. So no
Yeah.
one really knows where all this is going at this stage, but let's see, fingers crossed. Okay, so we're coming to the end of our conversation. I think I've just really, really enjoyed this. So what I wanted to end on really was just like your thoughts and like, what are you thinking about like now for the future? Like, what is your, without seeming like an interview, what is like what is your 6 month, 1 year kind of plan? Like, what is top of mind for you
Yeah.
right now?
I think, I mean, when I think about my career, I've just started something quite large, another client, another acquisition. So I'm looking forward to that. But when I look at outside the career workspace, I'm looking at True Women. I'm looking at partnering more with the local authorities, supporting domestic abuse survivors, female genital mutilation survivors, like doing more, outside of just ourselves. So seeking to kind of impact the community, the wider community more.
Yeah.
And that's actually what I'm looking forward to.
Oh, great. No, I love that. No, that sounds really, really good. And I'm sure we will connect a lot more on how we can, power our work together, because, yeah, we're kind of serving the same community. So it's great. And yeah, final question for me is, how can our audience connect with you and your work? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Sure. So for me, it's I'm on all the social media platforms. On Instagram as TrueWomen19. I am on LinkedIn as well. So in those ways, on my email.
Yeah. Okay, great. So LinkedIn at Hannatu Holloway, and on Instagram at True Women 19, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And are there like any True Women events or anything coming up that we can plug into?
Yeah. So the last Saturday of the month, I think it is, if I'm not wrong, the 27th, I hope. We're having, actually, no, it's the 29th. We're having a skincare specialist that's joining to talk about her brand, and she looks at specifically black skin, how to kind of take care of your skin, deal with hyperpigmentation or acne or different skin issues from the inside out. So that will be an interesting one to join. I'm
Nice.
quite excited.
And we can register via the links and stuff are on
True
Instagram.
Women, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I need to get my my cheekbones and everything looking good. Especially as we're going back into the workplace, I need to, like, start getting ready to be out in the world. Okay, great. So we have come to the top of the hour, the end of another great conversation. Thank you so much, Hannatu, for just being just awesome and authentic and open. Virtual claps, guys. You know how we do around
Thank you
here.
all.
Um, virtual claps. But thank you for your time, and thank you guys for like hanging out with us for an hour of the evening. Hopefully, you found it insightful and inspiring as well. That's always the point why we do this. So yeah, so up to connect with us, of course. We're at viSHEbility on all platforms, on Instagram, on LinkedIn as well, and you're going to get an email after this with all of our information. We also have a Telegram tribe group, so you're very, very welcome to join. Again, the links would be in the email that you would get if you register for this event. So really, really excited to see more and more of you guys coming to our events, hanging out with us and all of that. But again, thank you so much, Hannatu, for joining us
Thank
on this
you.
one. And thank you all for being here. So the next career conversation will be next month. Same time, same place, but you would get all the information, which we would share via our email list on our social media links as well. So if you want to be the first to know, definitely subscribe to our email list at viSHEbility.com/subscribe. Again, everything will be in an email for you, so don't worry about getting all the notes down. We'll make everything available. But on that, thank you so much again, and have a fantastic night,
Thanks,
everyone.
ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining. Take care.
Take
Yes,
care.
bye.
Bye.
Bye.